members, and welcome to Pop Culture Cult. I'm Sean.
I'm Janice.
And welcome to our breakdown, discussion, reaction, review. What's another adjective I can use here?
I don't know. We need to work on that.
Whatever we want to call it. Of She-Hulk episode 8. And this one was called Ribbit and Rip It.
Yep.
Because we got Leapfrog, which was teased in the trailers.
Yes.
And nothing else happened in this video, in this episode. So thank you for clicking on this video, and we'll see you next week. I'm going to start here, and then we can, if you haven't been through one of our reviews, breakdowns, reactions, we meander wherever the hell we want to go. I'm going to start here. Fanboys, he's here. You can finish now. I know you've been edging yourself for 8 episodes, hoping that waiting for Daredevil to be here, and not actually watching the show for what it is, which is Jennifer Walters actually trying to figure out how to be She-Hulk. You can finish now. Get a moist towel, clean up after yourself. We'll see you in the next show. Now that that's out of the way, okay. We knew that Matt was showing up. We knew that Daredevil was showing up based on the trailers.
Right. And the helmet.
And the helmet that we got, 3 episodes ago
right.
or whatever.
Right.
So let's talk about what actually happened between the two of them. Because as much as we talked about last night with Andor, there was one line in this episode that is the meaning of the episode. And that's Matt as Daredevil, using his lines from his show, from Netflix, saying, I'm a lawyer when the law needs to be there, and I'm Daredevil when the law fails.
Right.
And he's...
No, I think he said it as Matt Murdock to Jennifer when they were in the bar.
In the bar. You're right. When they're in the bar.
Yeah.
And it was a point to say for Jen, who's been on this journey to be both Jen and She-Hulk and come to terms with herself and her self-worth as both Jen and She-Hulk and what it means to be a Hulk. That whole process finally came to a head last week that she accepted herself as Jen and She-Hulk,
right,
with the weirdo things with Emil and the therapy session that she went through.
Right.
And then Matt telling her that you can be both and be both for good.
Right.
Is what this whole episode was about. We will talk later on about what the ending means for Jen and for She-Hulk. But her coming to the realization that, you know what, Matt's right.
Yeah.
I can do stuff on both sides.
Yeah, but she hasn't had to, and they talk about that in the prelude to the fight scene.
Right.
That Daredevil, Matt, whatever, is like, I got this. You've never done this kind of stuff before. I do this all the time.
Yeah.
And that's true. She has never. The only time she's the Hulk is at work because it's required of her, and then when she, up until the last episode, when she wants to feel better about herself, right?
Yeah.
She came into her best friend's wedding, all She-Hulk, and then her best friend was not happy about it, and Titania is really the only time she's had to fight anybody.
And the Wrecking Crew that one night when they all attacked her.
If you want to call that fighting.
Yeah, that was more of her just kind of pushing everybody away.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very Flash kind of thing. I don't really fight anybody. I just kind of push them and put them out of the way.
Yeah.
That's very much what that is.
Yeah. So, now we're going to see Hulk smash. She-Hulk smash.
She-Hulk smash. That might be the best line of the entire episode is when she bounces into the building and just She-Hulk smash, and with a big grin. And I just love Daredevil's response of you're right. Matt being there to defend Luke Jacobson and that kind of running joke that he's Edna from The Incredibles, right? He's the Marvel version of Edna,
Yep.
and because Leapfrog used a suit by Luke, she had to defend, or she had to take the case from Leapfrog because his dad is an important client for HLK and H or whatever the
Right.
law firm is.
Which we don't know who he is, like other than blah 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 senior or whatever.
Right,
We
right,
know
right.
we saw the name or heard the name, but we haven't seen the dad, so that could still be a card.
It's very odd that we have somebody like him. We have was it Todd,
Yeah.
who's also very much a high status client,
Yeah.
and also pulling some shenanigans.
I think Todd was right now. I think he was the red herring,
I was just going to say the same thing,
and that everybody was like, "Oh, it's Todd. It's Todd. He's going to be the big bad," and he's just a dweeb. He's just he's got money, so he's buying stuff like the Wakandan spear
yeah,
and trying to make himself more important and a bigger deal than he actually
he's that
is.
.com billionaire from the 2000s that got $700 million from Yahoo.
Yeah.
When he was 22, and now he's got money and he's got small dick energy, but he thinks he's a big deal.
Yeah, money can't buy you personality.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And he made a point of like nobody's buying African art like I am at my level. And that, which is just a total the guy who was the pharmaceutical guy.
Yeah.
It kind of has that same kind of creepiness kind of feel to it.
Yeah.
And he, again, why I think it's a red herring is because he was trying to have a date with She-Hulk because he has a thing for She-Hulk.
Yeah.
And he thinks that because he's a big deal, he can get it.
Right.
And stuff.
Right.
But the flirting between Matt and Jen at the bar is much more realistic because they were. It was a two-way street.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was kind of fun to see the dichotomy between the two, right? You have this obviously awkward kind of guy trying to pick up on this girl that doesn't want to do anything with her. But she doesn't want to do anything with him. But then Matt's like kind of that awkward school kid the same way, but more genuine with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was more of a chemistry thing than a douchey come online.
And
thing.
Jen points it out. Right?
Yeah.
Jen points it out.
Yeah.
That we're all feeling this, right? I love whenever I love whenever characters break the fourth wall. And Nikki even did it in this episode where she's like, "You can tell everybody about the story later, or you can stop talking about it later. We'll talk about it."
Yeah.
She recognized this is like the third or fourth time that she's recognized that Jen is talking to the audience or she's looked at the audience.
Yeah.
Outside of when Jen's there, and so I just love it when it's happening, especially because they used it as a trope, a misdirection trope at the end of that episode where Jen and Matt hook up, which totally makes sense. There was chemistry there. They had a fight thing together.
And it works for her because it's not a guy who likes her for Jen or likes her for She-Hulk. He has a dual personality as well.
Right.
So I think I actually said this like a couple episodes ago or last episode, like while we were watching it, that she needs a superhero, as a boyfriend, and then somebody who gets both lives.
And some people are going to complain about that's not really Matt's character. Isn't this kind of relaxed, not comical, but like I don't even know what the right word is.
Yeah, he was very
jokey. He was very
brooding, and
he's very
dark
brooding in the show, and he's very brooding in the
yeah.
comic and stuff like that. But he also shows up to a Christmas party with a sweater on. Says, "I'm not Daredevil" in the comic.
Yeah,
and so like there's comedy there with Daredevil and Murdoch, but it wove in really well with him kind of just telling Jen it's cool to have both of these things and having this setup. And when they hook up, it makes complete sense. And the fanboys out there are going to be, "Ooh, okay, cool, Daredevil's here, but that's not really his character. He wouldn't have hooked up with her." Of course he would have. Jen's, they have a commonality to each other.
Yeah.
It works. It makes
Yeah.
complete sense.
And it's been like 10 years since. How long has it been since Daredevil was on Netflix?
So I saw a thing that said the last episode of Daredevil was on Netflix was 2017.
Okay, so
So 5
years.
5-ish years. Yeah.
What's time?
But we're also in 2024 in
right,
MCU
and
right
was
now.
the Netflix shows like current?
We're current with everything that was going on.
So
yeah.
so it's actually like 7
years. Yeah.
So things
I was told there was no math.
things have potentially changed for him. I mean, he's not. Superheroes are a thing now. It's like a big thing now. It's not like Jen is showing everybody that you don't have to hide.
Right.
You can. Now, this may be a bad thing. It turn out to be a bad thing for her, but superheroes are an everyday occurrence. So, other than the vigilante part, and I'm sure there are other vigilante superheroes out there. I mean, it's just like Leapfrog. Is that his dumbest name ever? He's just a guy who had some money and bought a suit that shot him up into the air. Right? There's nothing super about him, and he is also being a vigilante. He's like trying to stop a robbery at a Costco, whatever it's called.
Right.
So it makes sense that Murdoch would have moved on at least a little bit emotionally.
Especially that last season of Daredevil that was so impactful for him. It was so like coming to grips with his demons and the loss of his father and all of that in that last season. And you kind of have to go through that to become a better person on the backside. And Matt hadn't done that until that last season, which gives him an opportunity to point out to Jen, like, it's easier for you to be both. They even talked about it in the trial about having that not every superhero is out in the open like Jen is.
Right.
And that kind of, as Miss Walters is, because he was being formal in court.
Right.
Which is a really good point to kind of lay out is within the MCU, most of the superheroes are known to the world, like who they are is known to the world. Secret identities isn't a thing, but it is in the Netflix series.
Right.
And so having that duality brought up in the trial and why they tried to get some of the other names brought out that Luke had done these suits for. We all as fans want to know who he's done it for, but in the world itself, it makes sense. And from that point on, it really helped Jen kind of open her eyes to, again, the idea that there's this thing there's more out there than just being one or the other. I can be doing something that being both things and helping others.
Right. And actually using She-Hulk for more than just
window dressing at a law firm.
Yeah, or a pony show.
Yeah.
Actually doing something with it.
So let's talk about the gala. The gala itself is very frustrating for me. The fact that they have a point of female lawyer of the year and just not lawyer of the year,
right,
is frustrating. And they even kind of point out they do this all the females win. So
Right.
you get everybody is who
It's
got nominated.
participation trophy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And instead of having all the lawyers, the top 5 lawyers, man or woman or whatever
Right.
of the year,
Right.
because it's so. This is one of I played poker for a while, and they were doing female only tournaments, and it kind of felt like, oh, you girls are so cute that you play too. You can't play with the men, so here's this tournament just for you guys, so you can do your own
Right.
thing. And the people who are organizing those weren't doing it out of trying to be dicks or anything like that. Like that's not where they were coming from. They were coming from a point of let's empower the women to have more women to come. It's easier for women to come to the table if there's other women at the table and stuff like that. But it turned into this, oh, you're so cute, you're not as good as the boys. You get to have your own thing.
Right.
And that's what this felt like. And then it turned into a freaking beauty pageant. Tell me why it's so important to be a female lawyer. Like, I just and what's her name? The other lawyer, Mallory Book. Um, when she got the mic, she's like, "I'm tired of people asking me questions of what it's like to be a female lawyer.
Right.
I'm a lawyer." And then she hands the mic to Jen, and it's like,
Yep.
I actually want to thank my parents for helping me through the process of becoming a lawyer.
Yep.
And then all hell breaks loose when they're getting ready for the gala. Jen's having this whole conversation with us as the audience, going, "This feels like where the episode should end. There must be some twist.
Right.
This is the next to last episode. There should be some twist or whatever. I'm going to go with the flow." And then we get to the gala, and Hulk King hacks the screen and starts showing all of the
stuff they got off her
stuff
phone.
off of her phone.
Yeah.
And Josh recording them having sex, and they called her a slut, and they did all of this stuff, taking her agency as a woman who enjoys herself, which was what all of defaming her for being this sexually aware person who happens to be a woman, and they're using that as ammunition to discredit both Jen, but also and She-Hulk.
Right. Well, and it's
intelligentsia, by the way, that's doing it.
Right. And it's all part of the message from the gala. All of it is the same. It really has nothing to do with her being, someone who enjoys herself or whatever. That really has nothing to do with it. These are all the things that happen in the real world that nobody blinks an eye. Well, a lot of women do, but a lot of men are like you said, pat them on the head, do this. These things happen all the time.
Right.
They didn't point what was going on out to you, like a lot of times Jen will break the fourth wall, or at least, give a look to the camera or whatever when things are going.
Right.
None of that happened during this because it happens all the time. This is, and if they need to make you aware of it, that how bad this is, then you're missing the point in the show, and you're missing the point in reality.
Right.
And then the fact that they are showing all of this stuff, if they do it to a woman, it's a bad thing.
Yep.
If this was a guy that they were showing all this stuff to, it'd be like, "Hey, bro, good job. Look at what you did."
Yep.
So
they even called her a slut.
Right.
In the present.
Right.
Why?
Why is she a slut?
Right.
Because she slept with a guy or a couple of guys. That's It's okay. Again, if you were a guy, you get slapped on the back and told good job.
Yep. And that's the double standard that people in the generation behind us are definitely fighting against. Because we were raised in that time period where you stayed a virgin until you were married, and if the guy went off and did his thing, you were doing a good thing. Like the guy was spreading his royal seed around, having a good
But
time.
sowing his oats.
So that's it. I like royal seed better, but whatever. But the girl needed to stay pure, and the sexual awakening that the generation after us, our generation, kind of actually the generation before us from the '60s, opened everybody's eyes, and then our generation was kind of the next one that kind of like, oh, okay, this is cool, and now the generation after us has been like, no, it's cool that I have multiple partners, or I have multiple partners at the same time, or I'm not any different because I have feelings for, or I've had experiences with with multiple partners. I saw a TikTok the other day. It says if as a woman, if you had more than 10 sexual partners before you get married, no, more than 5 sexual partners before you get married, you'll be divorced within 10 years of your first marriage. And I'm like, what is this conversation? Like, what? But pointing it out to defame her, to knock her down a peg.
Right. This wouldn't have been something they could have used against a guy. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If the only reason they could do this stuff to her is because she's a woman.
She's a woman.
They would have had to have gotten some, she would have had to have had classified files or something on her phone that was kind of one of I was like, why is he taking everything out of her phone? That makes no sense. She's out. Everybody knows Jen Walters is She-Hulk. So what is it that they're trying to get? All they're trying to get is her personal information. The fact that she was on this dating app, and then the video of the two of them having sex because he set it up in the room.
It's revenge porn.
It is. Yeah.
It's revenge
and it
porn.
only works because she's a woman.
It only works, but it also it definitely makes her less credible in the public eye, but also in the legal eye.
Well,
and I think that's where they're trying to go with it.
I don't think that. I mean, they're showing all of that, but the end result, they have shown it. The people who will get it will get it. People who won't get it. They didn't bash any of that. Like I said, they didn't break the fourth wall. They didn't make you understand that stuff was going on. They just showed everything, right? The whole pageant and everything. But then her losing her cool.
Yep. That's where I was going.
That's going to be way more detrimental, and that's why the other lawyer was like, Jen, don't, because if she'd have kept her cool and not, torn the place down and had the DOC come conveniently already there,
and the whole group in the corner recording it.
Well, I think that they were the ones that hacked into because it's going to be a closed system inside the auditorium.
But they made a point of having 4 different guys recording it, and then they all ran in different directions.
Right.
So now they're going to use her reaction to this coming out to discredit her, that she as a woman can't keep her cool, and she as a Hulk can't keep her cool.
Right.
She shouldn't be able to do anything.
Well, it's definitely going to be her as a Hulk. I mean, if she'd have just taken the embarrassment, I mean, it's in front of her parents, just taken the embarrassment and not lost her poo, it wouldn't have been as big of a deal as it's about to be.
Right. And that was the point, I believe.
Absolutely.
That was the point.
And it's, it kind of sucks because it's like, it kind of, you can't be mad when stuff like that happens, and it happens to women all the time. It kind of sucks.
And again, that's part of the pageant conversation that we were having.
Right.
Why is it unfair for a woman to be mad when something like this is happening to her, and now it's going to be used against her?
Right. You're either a bitch or you're a slut.
Oh, you're right.
So she was a slut, and then she lost her mind, and now she's going to be.
And now she's a bitch. And oh, by the way, she's also a Hulk. So she damaged the screen. She walked through the wall to go after the guy.
Right.
And
so now we're back to the Sokovia Accords.
Right. Which they made a point of saying the Sokovia Accords have been dissolved or reversed or whatever.
Yeah.
And so with the DODC there, which again, why are they there?
Right.
Why are they there with the shock weapons already? There's
like they were sitting out front.
They were sitting out front waiting. So with
they
what
get a
they
tip?
did Miss Marvel, with how they treated enhanced individuals in that show, and then they're showing up here all of a sudden, it feels it feels this is exactly the way I mean it for Inside the World. It feels scripted.
Right. Like I said,
I was trying to find some other word.
did they get a tip? Did are they working together? Them and
Hulk King.
Hulk King.
Yeah.
You know, did somebody from his organization tip them off that there was going to be trouble? Because there's no way they weren't already there.
Yeah. It feels not good. I'm trying to find other.
Well, the DODC isn't good.
No. But Jen's last, she kind of growled her way through, like as the Hulk kind of growled her way through, attacking people or whatever. But at the end, she stops because all the guns are pointed at her. She looks at the camera and she like exhales, like, shit, what have I done?
Yeah. Yep.
But we, as the audience, understand why she reacted the way she did, and so we sympathize with her in that moment. But we also are all like, this is your own making. You could have reacted like you were saying and just taken it and not. But now you've escalated everything.
Which,
so much.
I mean, which isn't fair, but
no, it's not. But that's the point.
But it's part of her having to learn how to be Jennifer Walters and She-Hulk, right? So it's part of her learning
process. So we have one episode left next week. That's this was episode 8. We have 9 episodes total. I feel like it'll probably be a little bit of a longer episode, but this really opens up the possibilities of what the show is how the show is going to finish, and what it's going to mean for. It feels like there's going to be a conversation with Holloway, and she's going to be back to not being an employable lawyer at the end of the season like she was at the beginning of the season, and then that's how the season's going to end, is her back to where she was.
I'm wondering if they're going to not reveal who the Hulk King is. And leave it as a continue, because it's a very it's a very like CSI, the CSI Las Vegas, when they had that the miniature killer. That was over multiple seasons before they finally figured out who it was. So it's a very kind of serial drama-y TV show kind of thing to do. Make the Hulk King like not revealed until the next season. Now I don't know that they
have not announced season 2,
but they
will. The only 2 shows that they have for sure done for a second season is Loki, which is filming currently, and What If, which is also being.
But they did this with them as well. They didn't announce it until it was all over, and then a week later they went, surprise.
Actually, it was the post-credit scene of Loki. This is Loki was going to be back for season 2.
That's right. Yeah.
But there's a lot of discussion that Hulk King is the leader, the scientist from the Incredible Hulk.
Yep.
And I wouldn't be surprised if we just get a shot of his giant forehead or whatever as a post-credit scene, because he's
or an outline, like a shadow
or whatever, because he's supposed to be the big bad in the Captain America New World Order movie that they're going to start filming after the first year. That comes out in 2024, and so I think it's 2024. Like, I don't want it to be a setup. I don't want this show to be a setup for the big bad for something else down the line. I want the show to be kind of self-contained in itself, and then do Easter eggs and things like that we've gotten the whole way, and then have it be season 2 where we actually got to figure out who this guy is that's going after Jen and She-Hulk.
But if he was revealed in season 2 and we get season 2 towards the end of next year, and or the beginning of 2024, and he's revealed, and then he ends up moving over into the movie,
because I from what I've read and what I've kind of learned from what they're kind of talking about with his character, he's trying to get the super soldier serum because everybody else is too. It's not just an MCU thing; it's happening in the comics right now too. But if it's not just the super soldier serum, it's also the Hulk blood and making people the Hulk. It all makes sense. It
Yeah.
all kind of lays itself out really well. But I don't want this to be a 9-episode track to set up a supervillain for another thing. I want this to be a 9-episode track of Jen learning how to be a person, her own person, and learn how to be She-Hulk. And then we don't know who the Hulk King is. I don't want to know who it is.
Right. Well, I mean, they've got to kind of weave the shows and the movies together, or they're doing what they already did.
Yeah.
With Agents of Shield and Daredevil and all of that.
Yeah.
Like they need to start kind of making them, which they did with Multiverse, right? I mean, you can watch Multiverse and it's cool, but if you saw WandaVision and you saw What If, then it's
it definitely
even cooler.
added to it. Yeah, absolutely. We could go on for a while with this episode. So let us know what you thought of our breakdown and reaction and review and discussion in the comments down below. Please be nice. That's a requirement around here. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications. Follow us on all the social media stuff, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Links are in the description down below. And until next time, cult members, good afternoon, good evening, and good night now.